All right, thanks everybody for joining. This is the March 3rd meeting of the Open Space Committee. And I'd like to start by first greeting everyone. Happy to see you. I'm happy that we seem to have at least 4 people. We'll go through the roll call in a moment and maybe some others will join us. But in the meantime, I'll read this mandatory paragraph here. In accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law related to the 2020 novel coronavirus outbreak emergency, the March 3rd public meeting of the Lakeville Open Space Committee shall be physically closed to the public to avoid group congregation. However, to view this meeting in progress, please go to facebook.com/LakeCAM. You don't need a Facebook account to view the meeting. This meeting will be recorded and available to be viewed later at a later date on lakecam.tv. So with that, let's begin with a roll call of members in attendance. I'll say your name and you'll say here. We'll go with Liz Nash.
Here.
Brian Reynolds.
Here.
Mike Schroeder.
Present.
And myself, Adam Young, is also present. So that makes 4. Missing today is Fred Fredima, Jesse Medford, and Donna Wabrick. We do have time to identify any non-committee members in attendance, but I don't believe that is the case today. I don't believe there's anyone in attendance. If anybody watching wants to participate in an upcoming session, please reach out to me and we'll make sure that you have the opportunity to be heard. You can send an email to lakevilleopenspace@gmail.com and that'll get us in connection. We will proceed to the reading of the minutes. We'll start with the January minutes, and we'll also read the February minutes, and then afterwards we'll vote on their approval. I will, let's see, probably to make things easier, what I'll do is I'll share my screen, and so you can follow along as I read. And I'll note that it is quite extensive. Colleen, who's been doing the minutes, has been doing a fantastic job, and they're very thorough, much more thorough than when I was the clerk taking the minutes. So this will actually take a little longer, but that's a good problem to have. So let me share my screen. All right, you should be able to see my screen. Can you confirm that?
Nope.
Excellent. Move that out of here. All right, so the January minutes. On January 6th, 2021, the Open Space Committee held a meeting at 7 p.m. remotely from various locations. The meeting was called to order at 7:03 by Chairman Medford. Open Space Committee members present were Chairman Medford, Liz Nash, Brian Reynolds, Mike Schroeder, Adam Young, and Fred Fredima. Not present was Donna Wabrick. LakeCAM was recording the meeting for broadcast. This then reads the governor's orders, which I've just read, and I won't do so again. Chairman Medford began with a roll call vote of the members and then read an introduction regarding the need for a remote meeting and how a remote meeting will be conducted. There was a review of the November 4th meeting minutes and reference to some spelling corrections. Upon motion made by Mike Schroeder and seconded by Brian Reynolds, the entire committee voted unanimously to accept them. Old business started with introducing new members. It's noted that Fred Fredima had joined the meeting. He confirmed that he was appointed by the Board of Selectmen, but not yet sworn in, so he can't take any votes at that meeting. We then discussed the open space plan workgroup meetings. Member Adam Young shared his screen to show a letter he drafted to the Lakeville Board of Selectmen regarding the open space survey. The requested funding for the survey totaled $640. The expenses are estimates, with $385 for an online subscription to SurveyMonkey, $165 for leaflet printing that directs residents to the survey for 5,000 copies, and $100 for a raffle prize incentive to participate. It's also noted that the previous treasurer and collector had verbally approved sending out the leaflets in the tax billing sometime in 2021, but it's agreed that the request should be made to the Board of Selectmen before it's included in a mailing. The committee discussed the request for funding and how best to present it. There's discussion on the timing of the mailings of the census or the tax bills to see if they fit the timeline for the survey. This will be reviewed further. Discussion updates by Open Space Liaisons. Mike from the APC spoke about several studies, goals, and possible actions that the APC was working on. Jesse Medford from the Parks Commission spoke about the Public Works Department doing a cleanup at Clear Pond in hopes of opening in 2021. They were removing trees and clearing trails at Ted Williams Camp. Patrick Marshall from the Master Plan Implementation Committee had nothing to report, and this was through word of mouth through Jesse Medford. Brian Reynolds from the Historical Commission noted that the commission met in early December and will be meeting again on the third Wednesday of the month. We then discussed any updates to properties currently of interest to the Open Space Committee, beginning with Lakeville Hospital property. Member Liz Nash spoke about the 43D committee and referenced the consultant's letter and how it goes above and beyond what the Open Space Committee had hoped for that property. Member Mike Schroeder spoke about the committee being highly in favor of it as it follows what the Open Space Committee finds important. Comment?
Was I highly in favor? That hurts.
Would you like any kind of amendment?
Is that the way people recall? Was I highly in favor?
So I am reading fast, so I can.
Okay. No, that's what it. That is exactly what it says. I just.
Well, after that, though, it does say that you noted that you wanted 2 species for hardwood trees was not enough. So the next paragraph, it sort of gives a caveat about that highly in favor thing.
But it makes it sound as if I was highly in favor of the whole project, and I don't think I ever expressed that. So I really don't want that in the minutes. I'm afraid I might have a noose out in my along my driveway ready for me if we left that in there, because no, I am not highly in favor of the whole project. I just thought that.
Oh, look at you go.
So
Adam, you know how to do all this stuff. I gotta
I'll
take
take it out, and
Dang.
we can reword it offline and then send it for revision.
Nice.
Okay. All right.
I will I'll continue just in the interest of time.
Okay.
There's a recap of what the issues were, which was requesting more diversity in the species of trees. Member Mike Schroeder noted that she wanted that 2 species of hardwood trees would not be enough. She also noted that the Austrian pine that was suggested is subject to disease and it is not a native species to the area. There's discussion on how to present this information at the next 43D meeting. The committee agrees that the letter packs a strong punch and maybe we should let them do the heavy lifting and see how it plays out. Member Nash and Member Schroeder will discuss this further. Before we move any further, any additional amending to this minutes note?
No.
Not from me.
No.
149 Bedford Street. The committee discusses the request for a flashing sign and the concerns with that. Brian Reynolds noted that the Lakeville Historical Commission has cleared that building for demolition. There is no funding to salvage it. There's a brief discussion on the historic significance of the house, and there's a reference back to when the street was a toll road that ran from Bridgewater to the old town hall. Lakeville Country Club. Chairman Medford reports that there has been no news on the distribution center, but he has seen advertising for 2-year golf memberships. It was noted that the property was under Chapter 61A, but that it was taken out and the town was not able to come up with the $8 million price tag to purchase that property. LeBaron Hills Properties. Chairman Bedford, I believe this would be an M for Medford, and I'll make sure it's noted that I made that change. Noted that they are still building across on Rhode Island Road, and that it has been a year since they put on our radar talks about selling their golf course. Any comments on these other properties before we continue?
No.
Okay.
No.
Chapter land spreadsheet of Lakeville's 61 ABC properties. Chairman Medford noted that we tried to get feedback on these properties and he hopes that there has been enough awareness that the town is interested in hearing about it first if they're thinking of selling. He asked the committee to take a look at the properties and determine which ones they are interested in and to do further research to see if they are adjacent to existing open space areas, and then the committee can double check with a field trip to the properties. Nomination and vote for new chairman. Chairman Medford asks if anyone present is interested in becoming the chairman of the committee. He has been doing this for 1.5 years and he would like to have someone else take over. There is nomination for Adam Young. There are no further nominations. Upon motion by Mike Schroeder and seconded by Liz Nash, the committee voted unanimously in favor for Adam Young. New chairman. New business, correspondence and announcements. Chairman Medford noted that the committee received an article from Golfing Magazine from a local resident. The article was talking about reasons to preserve golf courses. Chairman Medford will scan the article and get it out to the members. Agenda items for next meeting. Chairman Medford noted that the committee received plans for property located at 271 Bedford Street. He explained that on December 23rd, 2020, Zenith Consulting Engineers LLC sent plans that the planning board, or to the planning board, and that they will be reviewing them at the January 14th, 2021 meeting, and they are requesting comments. The land is right next to the new ball fields at Ted Williams Camp by Loon Pond. There's a review of the plans and the proposed relocated driveway and access easement. The committee does not have any comments on the plans. Any other business? It is noted that the next regular meeting of the Open Space Committee would be held on February 3rd. And the meeting was then adjourned. So what do we do with these meetings at this point? Does anyone have any comments or concerns?
Well, I do have concerns because of the fact that the project right now is a bit of a hot potato in town, and I don't think that that paragraph does imply that I was strongly in favor of it, which I don't think really is the way it should be written. Would you like for me to suggest something to add to this later on, and we can just delay approving these minutes for until next time?
Is there anything in particular you think we should just change right now?
Well, let me read it again. I think it was the consultant. It was the landscape consultant's letter that I approved of. I believe
Right.
that's so.
Yeah.
So we could say that Mike Schroeder spoke about was highly in favor of the the recommendations of the consultant, the landscape consultant. Yeah.
Would that be sufficient for you, or anything else?
Let's see. So it would be that member Schroeder's was jeepers, how does that go? Spoke about the committee or the whole.
Yeah, what the woman was trying to say was you said that our committee was highly in favor of it.
Indicated that the committee was highly in favor of the letter.
That's what I think it was trying
so?
to say.
I don't recall. I wonder if we need to listen to that meeting again. I don't know, because none of this sounds quite right.
I will say from my memory, this is accurate in that you and the rest of us also were highly in favor of the, it wasn't the landscape consultant, this was the peer review.
The one, I forget, it was like BI or IB or something like that.
Right.
There was, so there was a landscape.
And that's what we were, right, and that's what we were.
Okay, so it could it just say that a Schroeder how do you say it, was very much in favor of following the advice of the landscape consultant? Is that what does that? I don't remember if that was what was said or not. But I'm trying to figure out how to get this in a sentence without meandering.
I have to go.
That's fine. How about this as it stands now? Member Mike Schroeder indicated that the committee was highly in favor of following the advice of the landscape consultant as it follows what the Open Space Committee finds important.
Okay, so but it's the open. Now, when it says that the committee, is that first committee? Is that the Open Space Committee?
Yes.
Yes, I can.
Okay. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. That sound right, Liz? Is that are you remembering that way?
Yeah, you're right. That is better.
Mm. All right. Now, I would like to move that we accept it as amended. Am I allowed to make that motion, or does someone else have to?
I move. I so move.
All right. Any second?
I'll second.
Excellent. Accepted as amended. And so let's move to the February 2021 minutes. I'll read this similarly fast. Please tell me if you'd like me to slow down, but we have a lot to talk about today. So the February minutes, the Open Space Committee held a meeting at 7 p.m. This was on February 3rd, remotely from various locations. The meeting was called to order at 7:02 by Chairman Young. Open Space Committee members present were Chairman Young, Jesse Medford, Brian Reynolds, Mike Schroeder, Fred Ferdima, and Donna Wabrick. Absent was Liz Nash. LakeCAM was recording the meeting for broadcast. And then the governor's order paragraph, which I'll skip for now. Chairman Young begins with a roll call vote of the members and then read an introduction regarding the need for a remote meeting and how a remote meeting will be conducted. Chairman Young briefly stated that he will be preserving time in the future on each agenda for non-committee members in attendance so that they may have the opportunity to speak on matters of interest. Meeting minutes. Chairman Young noted that there are no minutes to review for this meeting. There is backlog due to the 43D committee meetings that are long and involved. Minutes will be provided at the next meeting for review. Old business, Lakeville 43D committee regarding former hospital site. Chairman Young noted that member Schroeder and member Young have been communicating about the 43D committee and the maintenance plan for the hospital property development. Member Mike Schroeder referenced the letter shared with the planning board that detailed outstanding items that the committee was hoping to be addressed at one of the subsequent 43D meetings. She explained that the focus was on the native plants and the control of the native plants where they are doing major changes to the landscape to eliminate the invasives. I was going to quickly make that. And then have a plan to control them on other areas of the property. We listed the specifics that they need to look out for. Chairman Young asked if this will be presented at a 43D meeting. The committee agrees that it would be a good idea to have someone from the committee attend the next 43D meeting. I'll note now that this did not happen. And what I'm saying now is not in the minutes, but I guess we'll return to this when we get to the hospital property in a moment. It is noted that the next 43D hearing will be on February 4th, and the purpose is to introduce the site changes in response to the abutter coordination and the third-party review, and to also address any outstanding items from prior hearings. Chapter 61 properties. Chairman Young explained that he has been working with member Fredima on the list of properties. He referenced the document of properties that are marked 1300, 1310, and 1320, and confirms that no one has done anything with those lists. It is determined that those properties listed are not necessarily Chapter 61 land, but they are properties that have a lot of acreage or connecting acreage that could be candidates for open space. Member Medford spoke further about the 13 codes and what they mean. He also referenced the discussion he had with Selectman Fabian and the request for the committee to find non-conforming lots that maybe the town could pursue purchasing. There's a brief discussion of non-conforming properties and what that means. Member Schroeder spoke about needing a map to see where those properties are located and what resource area they are in. It is suggested that looking at the largest parcels of land first and then divvying them up to try and find them on the assessor's map and see if any are adjacent to existing open space. Member Fredima spoke about the smaller parcels and what the plan is for them. Chairman Young noted that those properties are less than the confirming. I don't know what is intended here. I'm confirming the conforming lots, I would imagine.
Unless it has to be.
But I don't.
Yeah. Less. They're just less than conform. They're not large enough to conform.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what that means.
Too small to count as conforming, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay. Member Medford spoke about how those smaller parcels are identified because they aren't supposed to be built on, but they are built on, and we need to see if they fit for open space purposes. Member Fredima agrees to send all the members the 3 coded sheets so they can be looked at. Lakeville Open Space Plan, Mike Schroeder's edits. Member Schroeder explained that due to computer program issues, she ended up creating a separate document for changes and then went through and added the locations from the original document. She noted that member Fredima did go through and critique the document. There is some additional information that needs to be included, but discussions have to happen with the various groups in order to update those sections. An example of reaching out to the water department to find out how much water is drawn down.
Yeah.
And speak with Nancy Yates about the water tower. Member Schroeder noted that she continues to remove repetition and tidy up the editing of the plan, and ask that everyone really read the background information and really understand the issues of the town. The committee members discussed coordinating the update of the sections and using Google Docs. Adam Young's survey update. Chairman Young noted that he has begun a draft of the procedure for the survey. He will present the procedure section to everyone at the next open space meeting. He explained that LakeCAM has allowed the committee to use their SurveyMonkey data. Well, this is actually the account rather than data, and they will really reduce the expenses. He thanks LakeCAM for doing that. He explained that he is still working on how to fund the raffle prize and hopes that a resident or a private business will donate the money to be used as an incentive. New business 475 Kenneth Welch Drive. Chairman Young presented the site plan for 475 Kenneth Welch Drive. This is a site plan for a proposed adult use marijuana establishment. It is noted that they are going to purchase the Boston Botanical site of the floral supply place, so there will be no new construction. He asked if any members have concerns about this. There are no concerns noted. Request for town budget line item for open space protection. Member Schroeder explained the request for a line item and the intention for funding for open space protection. There are questions as to how this request can be brought forward to the Board of Selectmen and what wording is needed for support. The committee decides that having the chairman speak to a member of the Board of Selectmen to find out the process. Chairman Young agrees he will reach out to Selectman LaCamera. All other topics. Member Schroeder spoke with the committee about interest in bringing the CPA back to the town for a vote again. There is an explanation of the CPA program and the funding that continues to not be returned to the town. It is felt that...
What? That doesn't make sense, does it? And the funding that continues to not be returned to the town. What?
Well, you pay, excuse me, you pay, you go to the registry of deeds and you record your deed. The money
yes.
you pay
Okay.
in, it goes to other cities and towns.
Yeah, right. Okay. So, but it needs to be expressed better, don't you think, Brian? It's not clear.
Well, I mean, I understood it. Whatever works.
You're smarter than the rest of us. There is an explanation of this.
Is there any specific change you'd like to make?
So explain to me what that really is supposed to mean. So you guys talked and it was an explanation of what the Community Preservation Act program is.
Yes, and the fact that we miss out on the funding because we pay into it, but we don't get it back.
Bang. Okay. And the funding that we pay into but is not returned to the town. And the funding that
Are the funds, because right, yeah.
So our townspeople, when people buy property, are paying that CPA thing, and it's being distributed to other towns. But
It's fees on real estate. Whenever a deed is registered, a change of deed, anything that happens at the registry, there is a fee that's paid, and that fee goes into this fund.
The state registry.
Well, yes. If you buy a house in
I didn't really understand that. Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Are we okay with the replacement I've made? There is an explanation of the CPA program and the funds the town pays into.
Well,
yeah, it would be.
Well, that has to be are rather than is.
Are not returned.
Which are not returned to the town.
You're so good at editing. I wish I could do that fast.
I agree.
I'm sure I'll have arthritis in no time with all this typing I do.
It's partly a matter of knowing what buttons to hit, Adam.
I'll continue just for the sake of time. Are we okay with the?
Yes.
Okay. It is felt that perhaps town meeting has changed its mind and would be willing to enter into the program, this being the CPA, since the missed revenues are clear and the need for the funding, that funding for a variety of projects that would benefit the town has increased. Member Schroeder explains that the committee can help spread the word about the CPA, but they cannot promote it. They can only do education. Chairman Young asked any residents watching that if they were the ones that were interested in bringing the CPA article back for a town meeting vote, they should reach out and we will assist them. I'll make a side note here. No one has yet done that. There's discussion on what the CPA and the creation of a community preservation committee that takes applications, makes recommendations to town meeting, and allocates the funding received. Member Brian Reynolds noted that the CPA fund is comprised of Lakeville Registry of Deeds filings in Plymouth County, along with the percentage of 1%, 2%, or 3% of tax revenue, depending on what town meeting votes.
Okay, that the sentence where there is a discussion is just a poor grammar. It should be there was a discussion. You need to drop what, the word what.
There was a discussion on the CPA and the creation. Okay.
Yeah.
Discussion updates by open space liaisons. Mike Schroeder from APC spoke about what the APC group spoke about the APC
Who's
group,
the
I
what?
suppose.
Right.
She noted that a subcommittee steering committee, is this the correct term, Mike?
Yes.
It is, okay. For the Upper Nemasket was created with the idea for them to review the possibilities for reducing sedimentation in the river because it closes up the channel and increases the invasive species and blocks fish passage. Some other things discussed are the adaptation and modification to the dam at Assawamset Pond, which is owned by Middleborough, Lakeville, and controls the water essentially owned by the city of New Bedford. There are some problems with the dam and it needs to be rebuilt, but there is also going to be discussion on doing some dredging of sediment. Which is always risky to figure out a way of improving the flow of the river and at least give the excess water a place to go.
That's no. Go on.
Any comment?
Well, it's just it's a non-sentence. So with the beginning with which it's
I can make it.
But I think you could just take out which and just write the word it.
That's fine. It is always risky. There we go. And I'll just highlight it so it's clear what we've done. There is also a modification proposed for the Bastille Dam on Wareham Street in Middleborough because for a number of years now, the herring have had a lot of trouble getting back up it. Brian Reynolds Historical Commission noted that he spoke with Joan Morton and she confirmed that she will update the historical and geological survey of the open space plan. She is currently a member of the Historical Commission and a former member of the Open Space Committee and has agreed to do it. Jesse Medford of the Parks Commission has nothing new to report. It is noted that the next meeting would be on Wednesday, March 3rd, and the meeting was adjourned unanimously at 8:04 p.m. So there we have it. I would like to ask someone to motion to accept these minutes.
Can I make one quick comment?
Please.
It's Brian Reynolds. Okay. With the Community Preservation Act, you have to go to the town meeting and the town meeting has to approve it. And then you have to have an election, by ballot. And it has to be approved at that. So there's two steps involved.
Yeah.
The last time we got it approved at the town meeting, but it failed at the election. So just so everyone understands, it's a two-step process.
Thank you.
I was under the impression that it failed at town meeting, but you're saying it passed at town meeting and failed at the election?
Adam, there were two tries. Brian and Reynolds, remember there were two tries. The first time the open space was very active in it, and we got through town meeting, but not through the vote. And the second time it failed at town meeting.
Okay.
I make a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
Second.
Excellent. All right. And with that, we'll put the minutes aside and move to today's business. As a matter of fact, we'll start with old business and we'll begin with the Lakeville 43D committee regarding the former hospital site. And I would just ask Liz, as our representative to this committee, if there's any updates that you've heard of about this.
So here's the thing. The 43D committee that I was a part of ended weeks ago. I know that sounds funny, but once we had gotten through accepting the proposal, now it hasn't been accepted completely, that happens tomorrow with changes, but there came a point where the 43D, everybody's calling it that, but that committee ended. So I stopped going to the meetings. The only meetings I went to afterward were ones as when we all went as open space people. So I'm no longer on a 43D committee because there no longer really is a 43D committee.
Okay.
Those people that are going to these meetings are all going as representatives of the zoning board or the planning board or the board of, do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
So I don't know if anybody else made that February 4th meeting. The beginning of February blew up for me and I didn't come to open space and I didn't go to that meeting. Did either one of you, because you guys
did not, no, I was.
three of
No.
us sat there for 4 hours at that one particular
Yes, the one that we were invited to did last, I think, 4 hours.
4
And
hours.
that
It
was
was
about
4 hours.
the landscaping and lots of questions about the species that would be planted there. But the meeting that came afterwards was not one where the open space necessarily had any role.
Right.
I think it was about, I want to say, I don't want to botch it, but I remember specifically thinking it was more of a facilities like a drainage or a sewage or something. I remember thinking this was not something that we were going to be helpful in.
And the same thing, so I didn't go either.
Mhm.
The last meeting, which is tomorrow, if we all wanted to go, I guess we could, but I don't know if y'all have been paying attention to what's been going on with that, because the townspeople have decided they don't like it. And so quite a few of them have been sending emails, I guess, to Michelle, who's the 43D permit coordinator, to get the Zoom link. So the meeting tomorrow could be quite interesting.
It's going to be long.
It might be another 4 hour, right?
It's a good bet.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah. So we never really were we ultimately happy at all with what that the third party people and the landscaping company were saying they were going to be doing? Were we satisfied, or are there things, because if there are things that we really don't want to have happen, I guess tomorrow might be our only shot to talk about it. But the other part of that is this may become a moot point very rapidly.
I don't know if we ever saw any final plan that we could make any sense of. You know, we recommended that all the, I wish I could remember the name of the company, something like BI. We really thought that they expressed everything so well, and we wanted them, we wish that that's what they could follow. I think we Adam, did you say something about that at the meeting itself? It seems to me that was in your presentation.
Yes.
But we really don't know how much of that was followed.
Right. We officially listed our recommendations for things that would be in line with the open space mission, barring anything drastic where, we somehow, acquire or protect the hospital site, which simply is not feasible. Our role has been to advocate for endangered plants, the removal of invasive species, and to make sure that the landscape looks beautiful and something that our town can be proud of and when we see it. It has not in any way, shape, or form been asking for our opinion about whether this should happen. This is about what we can do to make the most of it.
As I said,
go ahead.
At one other point, we were trying to snatch victory from the teeth of defeat. If they were going to go down this path and this was what was going to happen to the property, the least that could be done was the sensitivity to the landscaping, the
Right, yeah.
and the residents.
Yeah. I think that it never has been a priority protection piece because of its location, because of the fact that it had already been severely disturbed. I think that our goal was to protect land in other places. Mm-hmm. So we were not really making any expression as to whether or not we thought this was the right way to use this property, because that's not really in our bailiwick.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know if
it sounds like there's not much to be said here at this point.
We could go as individuals, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But you have to stand in line if you want to say anything.
I think so.
Well, I'll make a comment here. I'm noticing that a couple people have made comments in the chat. A moment ago, or a few minutes ago, rather, Anne-Marie Bendix-Sherrick has noted that she'll contact us with her interest in bringing back the CPA. So I'm really happy to hear that.
Oh, you bet.
That would be huge.
Yes.
I've never had the pleasure of meeting you, Anne-Marie, but we absolutely welcome your interest and would love to have you maybe join us at some point in the future.
All right. The name sounds familiar, and I'm saying hallelujah. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I agree.
Another comment we have here from Sharon Dennis says she's right. They say planning board meeting, not 43D committee. So I'm assuming that's in reference to tomorrow is not a 43D meeting, but a planning board meeting.
Right, correct, exactly.
So we'll be observers, not participants, like anyone else in that way.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So with that, I suppose we'll move on to the open space plan. So first off, I was going to ask Fred if he had any updates. It appears, unfortunately, he wasn't able to make it. Mike, would you like to share any updates? Short of, we're not going to ask you to read the updates you've made, but could you summarize things that you've changed?
Well, no, I will say that I have been able to did I send it out to all the members? What I had been able to change in Word format.
Yes.
Okay, I haven't changed anything else since then.
Okay.
I have been working on everything else required some kind of research, and I found out some things about the water tower. I found out some things. Something else. I'm not quite sure, but very little information. It's been hard. Like I've tried to reach DEP, and they're not in the office. So it depends on people responding to a message. I don't have any emails. I've asked Jesse to do what he can with the questions that the park department has to do, and I haven't heard back from him. So I don't know what the status of that is, or if I should ask somebody else. Joan Morton had said that she would contact the Board of Health. There are quite a few questions that they need to answer, and I haven't heard back from her. But I did talk. I've talked with her a couple of times. I know that it's still in her list, and I'm still trying.
Yeah, I apologize. I haven't put my hand up to say what I wanted to help with. I have to admit I'm not very comfortable with Google Docs, and I did open the whole thing and thought that I would see people's names on the areas that on the sections that they were taking, and I didn't see that. So I have no problem doing anything, but I wish somebody would give me like real direction.
Sure.
Because I'm feeling overwhelmed by that whole thing.
Well, what I sent out, and my memory is so god awful. Did I send it out to people, Adam? Do you remember? Did you get it, Liz? What I have a Word copy now, thanks to Adam, who came up with a Word copy that you can edit. And what I did was I made all the corrections that I made in red, and then everything that I needed further information for, I put in this olive shade of green. That's a little hard to see, but it is. But if somebody else can look at it and using a different color, they can make their own corrections. I mean, I'm claiming olive green and red.
Okay.
And I have told I did send out to Adam and to Fred a list of the things that the people that I was planning on contacting, and I can send that on too. Fred had said that he would work on being the contact for Fish and Wildlife. I just hate for us to make a whole bunch of phone calls, to the same people all the time. I think that Bill Napolitano is going to be willing for us to do that, and I don't think that Nate minds it that much either. But I don't want us to pester a whole lot of agencies. So. Liz, if you really want a task, I could give you one.
Yes, please. I do, because I'm just a little
Let me go back and look and see. But because one possibility would be to call the New Bedford Water Department. It's just that Liz, I know those people, so it probably ought to be me to call. Let me get back to you.
So you're saying it's a struggle because a lot of people aren't actually working in their offices.
Yes.
A lot of us are working from home, but we've got our email and not.
That's right. And they don't necessarily answer their emails right away. So it's a bit of a struggle getting through to the DEP.
Right.
But I don't know how Fred is doing. See who else needs to be. That's the only one that is specific. Some of the other things have to be kind of bounced around. But actually, you should have that document. I'll send it to you again, and you could
Will
look at it.
Because I'm
Yeah,
not
and,
sure.
and you can see there are because I've pointed out just who needs to be contacted for each one, or at least that's the place where we would start. But
Okay.
let me get back to you because I'll need to take another look at it.
Okay, that sounds
Oh.
good.
Are you bringing it up?
What I'd like to share at this point is everyone in the committee has access to a Google Drive, which is
Right.
essentially just storage that anyone can access. And I've uploaded meeting agendas, minutes, and there's an open space plan here. There's also properties we'll get to in a moment and some other helpful resources. So you've been added to this. So find the email where I've sent it to you, or I'll just send it again. And you should just, your screen will look just like mine. You can click into open space plan. And there's several documents here. I know it looks like a mess, and some things are particularly useful.
But there's Mike's edits right there.
This is Mike edits. This is not your most recent edits, which I should upload.
Oh, okay.
But note this is a particularly useful one, which is this folder, Open Space Plan 2012 Word sections. If you click into that, it's the distinct sections of the document. So you can download these relatively small files, which are manageable. They're 5 to 20 megabytes. So it's much more manageable.
And you do have to download them. You can't do the work online.
No, you download them.
You download them, make your changes, and then re-upload them, and they'll.
I would imagine you should just take ownership of the section, and then we can combine them again towards the end. But we would probably want to avoid downloading, uploading, downloading.
Okay.
So that would be a great thing to do, is for all of us to communicate who has downloaded which sections, who has ownership over a certain section.
It would be unfortunate if we all kind of redid all the same ones. So I would appreciate if people would look and see what I've already done.
Yeah.
What
we can do is, because the open space plan is not a committee exclusive project, anyone watching, anyone who cares can help us with it. We can create meetings just like this one with lots more people involved, and we can kind of talk about this for an hour or two. But I don't want to think that we'll solve this right here and right now.
Right. Yeah. No.
So why don't we set a goal of, within the next 2 weeks, let's schedule a meeting where we can set aside 1 or 2 hours and just talk about the open space plan.
That's a great idea.
Okay. Just don't make it a Tuesday or Thursday night, please.
All right.
Monday and Wednesdays.
Monday, Wednesday, even a Friday or a Saturday morning or a Sunday evening, but not Tuesdays and Thursdays, please.
Okay. For open space plan work group. And if anybody wants to join us, please contact us at lakevilleopenspace@gmail.com. So we will continue on to the next topic, which is the non-conforming properties list. I was able to speak with Selectman Fabian last week to ensure the clarity of her ask to us. The goal of her ask to us was to evaluate lots that have been deemed undevelopable, because as undevelopable parcels, the owners might be motivated to sell the parcel and be rid of the tax burden. However, she didn't know if any of these undevelopable lots had particular value for preservation. We received a code list 1320. You might remember that from the minutes about half an hour ago. We received from Norm in the assessor's office. Thanks, Norm. Appreciate it. This is the proper list of undevelopable lots where we're looking. There's also a code 1300 and 1310. These are also vacant lots, but they are either developable or potentially developable. So 1320 is the most relevant list for our purpose. To determine if any of these properties have value for open space preservation, what I did was I found a mapping tool online called Mapper, M-A-P-P-R, by the Mass Audubon. This tool is used to rank parcels in town, I'm pretty sure any town in the state, by several criteria, such as the habitats, the species that those habitats support, the parcel size, adjacency to other protected lands, and their resilience to climate change. I was able to download this data from Mapper for Lakeville, and I was able to connect that data to the data from the 1320 list. And the resulting list attempts to show which of the 1320 or undevelopable properties are the most valuable for preservation. So I want to share that list with you.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Here we are. Hopefully you can.
That's a beautiful thing.
Can you see my screen?
No.
No.
Yeah, okay. It keeps sharing and then unsharing. Let me share for the final time, hopefully. All right. You can see it now?
Oh,
Yes.
I already see one that I think has a CR on it, or is
Okay.
supposed to.
Oh, this is great information. Let me just orient you first. So there's the site address here, the owner name, and then the lot size is this column. Further along, we have, this is the real gold column. It's called balanced. It's the Mapper's balanced model, which combines all those criteria I mentioned. So the highest score is the most valued property. And what I mean by valued, it's most resilient to climate change, has the most endangered species in it, and the habitats that need protecting and so forth. So these 11s are as good as it gets in terms of preservation priority. And these are unfortunately developable lots, so not in the non-conforming property list. This green one, however, which is a 10 on the balanced model, is One Gomes Lookout, which I can show you on a map, is located adjacent to a wetland. So let me pull that up.
It sounds familiar.
It's
Go
right.
off of Highland Road.
Yep, exactly, Brian.
This is one that is supposed to have a CR on it. It was part of the condition of its being developed.
So it does have.
It was supposed to. I don't know. This is a question that needs to be researched.
I'm sorry, what am I, so I'm sorry, you guys seem to know where you are.
Okay, sorry.
It's
I'll
the,
zoom out
the
more.
yellow. It's the
No,
flashing
yeah, but
yellow.
where are we? in
Okay,
town?
this is you're between Assawamset. The Tamarack Park is right in there,
Oh, okay, all right, thank you.
and that's Assawamset to the upper left, and Long Pond
Long
to the
Pond
bottom.
Yep.
And that's Snake River.
I
Right.
believe that's what they call it. Yes.
Okay, and that
All
has a
right.
conservation restriction on it already?
All right.
Mike?
This is the history of that project as I remember. Now, this was a long time ago, and I have no way of checking these records unless somebody at the Conservation Commission could do so, or the Planning Board. But my recollection is that the people who owned that property owned the house in that in another lot, which I think shows as 37. And they wanted to put a house on the waterfront. So their plan was to get permission to put in a subdivision because they had enough upland to do it. They didn't have enough frontage to put, well, it didn't matter. They needed to create a subdivision road. But the part of the agreement was that they would create 2 lots and they would put a CR on one of those lots.
Wow.
That was part of the agreement. Now, sometimes these agreements get lost in the melee,
Right.
and so that's the way that one stands. If there is no CR on it, and it wasn't part of the condition, then certainly we should push it. If there is, if the creation of that lot was conditioned on having a CR, it should mean that they could not sell that or develop it without clearing that, without completing the conditions. That they need to get a certificate of compliance. But you heard a lot of ifs in my presentation.
Right. So next steps, I suppose we should in some way, shape, or form determine whether there is a CR on this.
Yes.
How do we go about doing that? Is there, I'm assuming there's a list of some kind.
The assessor's office might know. Other than that, we would have to check we could check with the Registry of Deeds.
Okay.
And I don't know how to do that. But if the registry of deeds is closed, I really don't know how to do it. I'm told that information is online. So,
Okay, we'll find it.
Yeah, we'll find out. Excellent. So that was the first, and then I'll share with you just a few others. I don't want to spend too much time on this. We're already close to an hour and I have several other things to talk about. So the next one was a Staples Shore Road property, and it's actually directly behind the kind of block of houses that are already there. I'll show you that. So actually, I believe these three are all high on the list. For what it's worth. And you'll note that because they are in yellow, these are potentially developable.
Yeah.
And,
that means there's enough upland. Mhm.
okay.
Well, and that they have the right amount of access to a main road, right? They have the frontage on the road.
Well, they have access on Staples Shores, but it's a matter of how wet they are. I think that they've never been developed because they're so wet. But that's I don't know. You'd have to see how wet they are.
Mhm. Okay.
That looks like a house on 28, but on
2Q or
whatever 2P.
hard to see. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess there's two of them. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that one isn't one.
That's certainly one to look at. Yeah.
Next is maybe the last one we'll look at today, although there's others on Malbone and Loon Pond that maybe we can look at next time, is 20 Indian Shore.
That's Assawamset again?
Yep. Just below it.
Is that landlocked?
It appears to be.
Huh. Is that a cranberry bog behind to the right of it? You can't really tell because
It could be
That
Cranberry Pond.
yeah, it doesn't look like trees. It looks like
You're talking about right here where the mouse is?
yeah,
Below it?
that color, yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Looks very different from the rest of the surrounding trees.
Yeah.
Maybe it's wetland.
Huh. Wow.
What an odd shaped lot. Yeah. There are some weird shaped lots on that map.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you get there?
Oh.
There's Bedford Street.
You get there by water.
Huh.
You would to get there. I'd imagine you would, at least in theory, take what is this road here? Is this Betty's Neck Road? And then you'd kind of walk through the woods 100 yards, and then you're there.
Huh. Well, they might. Yeah. Huh? If they're paying taxes on it.
Well, we can find out. Let's take a look. The assessment's quite low.
Huh.
But any thoughts on this? And maybe we should put it aside and revisit.
Revisit. Yeah. That's a real puzzle.
I really don't know exactly which lot it is. There are some Indian sites in that area in general.
Indeed.
But we have
there are.
to check on.
Huh. How would we find out where those are located?
Well, I know I could take you to them.
That's awesome.
Actually, yeah, that would make a very interesting. Would walk out there toward the old town forest, right, Brian?
Yeah.
And
Right
where
in that area, yeah.
yeah. I think Ken Leonard took us out there one time.
Yeah, we did go with him, yes.
Yeah, it was the Open Space Committee he took.
It could be. I know I've been there with him.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a really fun summer way to spend a day once the world is right again.
Really, huh?
Sign me up.
Yeah, me
So
too.
we'll revisit, I suppose, next month and see if anyone's had any thoughts about it in the meantime, and we can go further down that list. But before we move away from the non-conforming properties list item, I don't know if Leah Fabian, Selectman Fabian, is expecting any answers from us, or maybe she'd want to see this list. But we would certainly be ready to share it with her. But it does evoke the kind of natural question: what do we do with this information? We are an open space committee without any budget. There's no way for us to acquire and protect land at present. So, for example, we obviously cannot protect the hospital site. We don't have even remotely those kinds of funds. But if the owner of this piece of land we're looking at now gave a very realistic price, what would the process be for us to either acquire it, or if in complete lack of funds, guide the owner towards a conservation restriction?
I think we talked to the owner.
Does a conservation restriction require funds?
Well, yeah, but because it's a legal process for one thing, and somebody has to hold it. And I don't know what group would hold it. It would be very difficult to monitor because you can't get to this.
I thought of that too, Mike, when I was looking at this. I don't know. Yeah.
So we kind of need to know who the neighbors are.
One of the problems with conservation restrictions and all of this stuff, which was a wake-up call to me, but Mike explained this to me at some point, or I learned it being on this committee, is that you can get a piece of property with a conservation restriction on it, and someone can be holding the conservation. If the town is holding the conservation restriction, and then in the future it comes up that this piece of property would be more valuable if they sold it, they can take it out of conservation. So even though you put a conservation restriction on a piece of property, doesn't mean it's in perpetuity. Doesn't mean it lasts.
Yeah, but it can be.
But it can be.
Yes.
But as long as people are continuing to pay attention, right, Mike? As
long
as
no. If you
continue,
I don't know if. Well, just let me say the conservation restriction that Joan Morton and her mother put on their property is specifically in perpetuity. Now, and whether they had to specify that, and that's the same thing applies to the properties that Linda Grubb and Ken Leonard have. They have conservation restrictions on their property, and it's in perpetuity, which means it goes with the deed.
But other times when I've heard that when a town has held the conservation restriction, when a town holds it on a piece of property, that they can also change their mind to take it back out. I've heard that.
I think it's more complicated than that, Liz. I think that yeah, because that just sounds like a Chapter 61 thing. I think it's something to investigate, but I think you're wrong. I hope.
Well, no, that's fine. I was also getting that impression that that's what you were talking about with that piece of paper. I mean, that piece of property we were just looking at off of Highland, where they had to put the cul-de-sac in and create a second development.
Oh, no, they did not. The issue with that one is that I'm not sure that they ever put the conservation restriction on it. It was a condition, but there I've encountered a number of times in town when there was a condition that was put on somebody's project, and they didn't meet the condition. But there's no the Conservation Commission doesn't have the ability to go in and arrest them or fine them for not doing it. They just can't sell the property well, I'm sorry.
You're fine.
The last time I ran into something like that, there was somebody that did not have he did not have the certificate of compliance, but he sold the property, but then the next people wanted to do something and they could not because the property had not met that restriction. So it is possible that these people were supposed to do it, but just never got around to doing it, is what I'm saying. And nobody would have enforced it in any way. It's sad, but that happens.
Would the Concom know?
Sorry, Adam.
Would
What?
the Concom know? Is it their responsibility in any way?
It should be in their records, but I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if it is. It should be in their records, but I don't know if it is. You would have to get somebody to look.
Okay.
I have to talk to the Conservation Commission. You want me to work on that one?
Yeah, if it would be easy for them to check whether One Gomes Lookout has a CR.
I will do so.
Great, that'd be great.
What number is it? One goes.
Although there was, well, hopefully you can, you know what I'll do is I can send you the parcel number just in case that clarifies things.
Okay.
I think the house next to it may or may not actually have the same address. I might be getting this wrong, but it's worth having the parcel number too.
Okay, the parcel number disappeared. Where'd it go to?
I think I want to grab it from here rather than that. So it's 056 004 045.
Adam, is there a color coding on this? The black ones, the blue ones, the yellow ones? What's the difference between
The
those?
black ones are 1300, meaning they're developable. The
Okay.
yellow is potentially developable, and I don't
Okay.
honestly know the distinction between those two things. And but
Right.
the green is undevelopable.
That's the 1320, the 1320s.
Yep. So
Okay, cool.
in the interest of time, we'll move forward. I want to show you something else also related to this. The next agenda item is the priority properties list, which is distinct but related to the non-conforming properties list. This is not specific to the 1320 list. And you can also use the mapper tool to help with that. So here it is. If you wanted to find it, you could find it on massaudubon.org. You could search for mapper project or mapper tool, and this will come up pretty quick. What you do here, and it looks like a lot, but most of it is optional. You don't have to input much. You'll just go to study area, put in Lakeville, and then what I've clicked is the balanced model. So this weighs the property characteristics by lots of things, such as resilient sites for conservation, biohabitat, biomap habitat, parcel size, block size, adjacent to protection, et cetera. So we'll gloss over that. Just do Lakeville balanced model and then click run model. And what you get is a map that like you see here. This is ranking all parcels, all currently non-protected parcels in Lakeville by their priority.
Big that 18.
That's
Right.
spectacular.
And that would be 30 Howland Road,
Mm-hmm.
565 acres.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any history to this property or anything that I should know about? This is the first I'm kind of hearing of it.
Well, isn't there something that, didn't you say, Mike, there's some property on Howland that belongs to or is being protected by Audubon at this point? Isn't that right?
If you take away that cover, I can you can see the 18 is the where to go to. The one that's marked 11, I really don't know what that is, but you'll see that there is it's almost as if 18 is a toe stuck in a shoe, and the shoe, the clear part that has no numbers in it whatsoever, that belongs to the state, and that is protected land. That used to be, well, the town bought that quite a number of years ago, and the state bought it from the town. It surrounds the area, which is now it has been a farming parcel. It was a pig farm. I think the man is still farming. He's older now and is probably not interested in farming anymore. So it makes the property very desirable. The state wanted to buy that part that makes the shoe, if you understand what I mean, the toe to the shoe. They wanted to buy that because that's adjacent to Freetown where there is a lot of open space, and it's part of the desire of, you can see that the state really wants to create as much connected open space as possible, to create corridors and that sort of thing. As you can see, it's you see the little blue line going along there, that area there, that's all clear. Also, of course, that's Audubon property. So it is part of a connect. It's very close to connecting it. There's very little interruption between.
Okay.
And so it's a priority for the state. And I notified Joan Pierce that there was concern that the owner is getting older, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't keep an eye on it. It would be lovely if the state decided that it was a priority for them. But Joan got back to me and she said that she would pass it on to the people that mattered. And but that was just last week.
Really?
I had the pleasure of speaking for the first time, actually, with Selectman LaCAM, and he told me that this is one of the properties that concerns him the most.
Yes. Yes.
Is there any, I would imagine, well, I'm wondering what the concern is and if there's any time pressure that we or the state or any kind of conservation committee should have in mind.
Well, I think we know that that if somebody should do if they should have a purchase and sales agreement on that, then you're stuck matching the price. There's no opportunity to negotiate. But so it's a matter: is it in the interest of us to try to reach out to the owner? I don't know the history of this man's relationship to the town, whether he has any issues with the town or whether he would be amenable. It is a farm. It is not. It is not a great big piece of open space that is natural. I don't know what the conditions are on the farm. I don't know how he feels about the land. Something inside of him may want to get rid of it. Something inside of him may want to preserve it. You'd probably be dealing with his son or his nephew or whoever is the relative that would be handling it.
Right.
But I think that it might be wise to discuss this with somebody that's lived in town longer than I have, maybe Rich LaCAM, as to what might be a good way, what should be our next step. He may be throwing it in our laps, but you guys are newer than I am, and I'm still a newbie.
Okay.
I mean, this man, this was his father's land, so it's been around a while.
So he might be interested in it continuing to be what it is,
I don't know.
or he could be under pressure. I mean,
He may be done with it,
Yeah. This is completely off subject, but sort of along the same. At some point, I had heard rumblings about a right to farm in Lakeville.
Yes.
And I didn't know if that group of people could be inspired to kick it into high gear and try to get that done in the town, because that would make a piece of property like that more attractive to somebody else who might actually want to.
Somebody who really wanted to farm.
Right. I mean, it's been a farm now for probably, well, we don't know, but a really, really, really long time. So
at least 70 years.
70 years, Brian?
I would say it's good, easily 70 years.
All right, so pushing 100 years. I mean, keeping it open. I mean, farmland too is disappearing rapidly. I mean, farmland is open space.
Yeah.
Brian, have you ever been on the property?
Never stepped foot on it.
Does
I've
that
walked around the
own
outside edges. I haven't been on the property itself.
Mike, does that property owner own other property in town?
I don't know.
Okay.
The property, I think the property does go all the way to Howland Road, so that I think the house where he lives is maybe closer to Howland Road. I really don't know.
Ah.
Yeah, long way.
Yeah, it looks like it does. Okay, we will continue.
Right.
Other properties that Selectman LaCAM mentioned was the country club, of course, and we've We've talked about that a lot here, about how it's simply not within our power as a budget list committee to do much about, unfortunately, at this point. Hopefully the CPA will help change that in the future. He also mentioned 37 Freetown Street, which I've pulled up. I'm not sure if this has come before this committee recently, but it is a 300-acre parcel adjacent to 140.
Oh.
Brian, I have a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is that the property where there was a proposal for a casino?
Is that the one near the high school? Was it near the high school?
No, it's off 140.
I don't really know. We call it Rocky Woods, I think. You go down 140 and you see big rocks on either side of you that were blasted to put the road in. And the whole thing is bedrock. I don't know if there was going to be a casino there or not.
Well, no, there's no plan now, but there was a piece of property that the town was that they wanted to rezone or something, and it was a big brouhaha quite a number of years ago. But anyway, I
know
think
somebody.
Go ahead. You go ahead, Brian.
Well, I think somebody else was going to put in a housing project, but because it's bedrock, it's very difficult to do with anything in the way of construction. You know,
Well, it's expensive.
Storage disposal.
Right.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that it is a property that I have walked with Linda Grubb. Maybe we walked it together, Brian. I
we
just
might have.
There were housing foundations, some really old house foundations.
Right.
And I remember finding
at least 3 of them.
Yeah, there were some very unusual plants that were there. It's a very beautiful piece of property, and yes, I would love to see it preserved as open space. But
so would I. Yeah.
I don't know does anybody know the price that they're putting on it? Because I think it's been up for sale.
Really?
It's up for sale right now, and it would cost $3.5 million.
$1 million.
Oh yes, wow. Pocket change. Right. Yeah.
300 acres, yeah.
Oh, what a shame.
Yeah. How many acres?
300. Yeah. Give or take.
Mm.
So do you see this sentence in here? And I just have to pull this out because this is sad, but I got to say it. Do you see, Brian, Adam is sharing his screen, Mike. Do you see in the description there where it says 300 plus negative acres of wooded residential, blah, blah, blah. The last sentence says this parcel can be subdivided by buyer or can apply for the Development Opportunities District.
Oof. That Development Opportunity District sounds like, do we have, could people apply to get it? That sounds like a rezoning type of thing.
Bingo. Exactly. And it seems to be getting used a lot lately in Lakeville to create, I mean, I understand Development Opportunities District. It's exactly what it sounds like. A way to bring.
But they would have to apply for it. And I wonder how they do that.
Well, I think it has to do with the planning board and the zoning board and the zoning appeals.
And you don't think it's something that has to be voted?
I think we'd have to investigate what Development Opportunities District means.
Yes,
but
yes.
I think that
so.
Development Opportunities District concept was something that probably has been voted in some way.
Well, that is, thanks for pointing that out. We need to check that out.
Would it mean
that's a question for, who is that a question for?
Okay. Would that mean a potential stone quarry in there?
Brian, I hate, the worst, well, it could mean all sorts of things. Whatever they, I mean, first of all, when you say the parcel can be subdivided by the buyer or can apply for the Development Opportunities District, I guess that, I mean, what does that mean? It means you're going to be doing something that doesn't include subdividing. Development opportunities. I don't know, a business, Brian. So maybe a quarry, or maybe I have no idea.
It does have frontage someplace, doesn't it, on a road? Besides 140.
I don't really know. I know I went in from the 140 side.
Maybe on County,
I think I did.
or there seems to be I can't tell if that's a street. Either way, I think it's unfortunate that we're probably facing a problem that we face often. Without any funds, what are our options?
Right.
Well, well, all we can do is advise the selectmen, and they have to come up with funding or find somebody to do that.
They'll throw that back in our laps.
Well, yeah, because they don't have any money and nobody wants their taxes raised to preserve anything. Everybody just, gets upset if everybody wants everything, but nobody wants to pay for it.
We'll say one thing though, Liz, we have not heard from this Board of Selectmen something that we heard from the last one, which was the sentence, we're not in the business of buying property.
Yeah, I know. I hear you.
And the previous Open Space Committee did present a piece that was much cheaper than this. And that was the response we got.
Right. Yep.
So they work with us anyway.
So this was Adam, you said that this was a priority property that was brought to your attention by one of the Board of Selectmen because he's worried about it.
Right.
Is this, I have to be cut and dry. Is this a priority property for us? It's
not on our list.
The big hunk of land.
Right. So there's not that many properties that are this big. And if we look at this mapper tool, and this might not be the only way of doing this, but it seems to be in this kind of 4 and 2 region. So it doesn't seem like it's going to be, at least as far as Audubon is concerned, a priority parcel.
Okay.
So,
we have to pick our battles.
Yes, we do. You ought to walk this piece. It's pretty amazing. It's something that archaeologically, I think it's probably very sensitive.
Well, add that to the list of summer excursions we'll take together.
We're going to have fun. Get lots of ticks.
We're deep.
Right. It is well past 8 already, and we have a lot to go, a lot of stuff to go. So it is occurring to me that I forgot to update you on my section of the open space plan. So I'm going to loop back and talk about that for a moment. I did revise or create actually the survey method. I'd like to read that over and let everybody know where we're at with the survey. And here we go. So the purpose of the survey, the purposes of the open space survey are as follows. First, to quantify the extent to which local residents are aware of and use local open space properties. Second, to quantify the extent of interest that local residents have towards various outdoor recreation activities and the extent to which residents are satisfied by the opportunities to engage in these activities in town. Third, to quantify the extent that residents care about open spaces for particular reasons, such as aesthetic value compared to habitat preservation. Fourth, to quantify the extent to which residents support or oppose efforts to establish a budget for open space land acquisition, especially, although not exclusively, with respect to the CPA. Fifth, to quantify the extent of support or opposition towards various potential tax structures related to a potential future CPA. And this is something Say again?
Sounds good.
Yes.
The method. Participants. In the 1999 and 2008 open space surveys generated 196 and 160 responses, respectively. Due to the town population being markedly higher in 2021 than during the previous surveys, and due to the digital rather than the physical survey, likely contributing to a greater ease of survey completion, it's expected that the 2021 open space survey will exceed 200 responses. Responses will be restricted to 1 per household. One participant will be chosen at random and gifted a $100 Amazon gift card donated from a local private party, which is still to be identified. The procedure. Distribution of the survey. The survey will be distributed in 3 ways. First, 8 by 3-inch mailing leaflets will be included in summer 2021 tax documents mailed to all town taxpayers at the end of June. The leaflet will inform the recipient of the availability of the open space survey on a website with a clear, short web address provided. Second, the survey will be posted once per week to the town's most populous Facebook group, Lakeville Helping Lakeville, generating additional awareness in a digital space where participation in the survey is just a click away.
Nice.
Third, copies of the survey will be printed and left in and later collected from the public library and the senior center. Timing and duration. The survey will accept responses for 2 months, from mid-June to mid-August, thereby ensuring that the survey is open shortly before the tax mailings and accompanying leaflets are distributed in late June. This timing will enable 8 weekly notices to be sent on Lakeville Helping Lakeville and provide ample time for residents to complete the survey on paper at the listed public locations. Survey questions. The survey contains 15 questions at present, although it's still being tweaked, and is estimated to take 8 minutes to complete. A complete copy of the survey will be included in the appendix. I think I started to write the anticipated results and then trailed off probably late in the night. So I'll leave it there. Does anyone have any comments on the procedure?
My only concern is that I think you do need to check that out, the legality of the raffle.
Right. As long as the raffle is not funded by taxpayers, as long as it's a donation from a private party, I'm not particularly concerned about it. Although I will check with anyone you think is wise for me to check with.
Okay. I town council.
Yeah, exactly. Just ask town council. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. On the raffle. And if you know anyone who's particularly donation minded, hopefully
I know. Yeah, right. Yeah, I hear you.
$100 is a lot of money, but it'll go a long way towards getting people to actually respond to the survey. And without a lot of responses, this survey is not particularly useful. So we need that. So that was my update on the survey. I'll continue to tweak it in the weeks that come, and I'm going to take it upon myself to spend even more time on the open space plan in the next few weeks and months. I had it on the new business to share with you the Open Space Committee Google Drive. I've already done that. Did anyone have any questions about how that worked or have any issues accessing it?
So
no,
what
I
did
don't
you
think
do?
so.
Mike, had you downloaded it and then you worked on it in Word, right?
Yes, and then I thought that I had sent it out, but I guess my latest is not in this. But I work specifically on they're not called chapters. I guess there's sections 3, 4, and 5, which are background. They're just background, and I did not do the geology or the history because Brian and Joan were going to do those.
Okay.
And there are a few of them that are specifically need us to be assigned in specific ways, and I've mentioned that in the
Excellent.
in the document that I sent out. I dropped all the maps out of it so that it wouldn't be quite so big. But
right, I think we should. Well, like I said, we'll discuss the open space plan in great detail in the coming weeks.
good.
The next item is the deed restriction renewal calendar. So I believe it was Fred who brought this to my awareness. The Open Space Charter, the Open Space Committee Charter mentions monitoring the renewal of Chapter 61, et cetera, to see if owners are planning on taking properties out of protection. And that's something that I'm not sure if we do here. It hasn't crossed my mind yet. Is there a process in place, or should we put a process in place for checking with people when the renewal opportunities come up.
Well, actually, that is not what was meant just by deed restrictions. The deed restrictions are refer to a lot of other things, not just Chapter 61. There are things that have easements and that sort of thing.
Okay. I think this was the part. The Open Space Committee will work with the Board of Assessors to develop a unified system for recording deed restrictions. The committee will compile a calendar of renewal dates for these restrictions, and attention will be given to monitoring these restrictions. I asked Jesse if any cooperation with the Board of Assessors has been done for this, and he consulted with the people he knows on the board, and I think the answer was no, they're not aware of anything like this, although if I'm misrepresenting that, someone hopefully will correct me. But that might mean there's an opportunity for us to establish some kind of process here.
This was something that Linda Grubb was very very insistent upon, and it was not something that I got very much involved in. But it was not chapter properties; it was other things. And I did notice that in reviewing the open space plan, there is a discussion of properties that are protected in certain ways, and there are a number of town properties that have deed restrictions. They don't say conservation restrictions; they say deed restrictions. And those are properties that's one of the things that I've mentioned. We need to check with the town to find out what is the nature of these restrictions and do they need to be reviewed. But I don't know what they are.
Okay. So that seems like a good conversation worth having. And then maybe we can put something in place if there isn't already, because doing some midnight reading the other day to find out that Chapter 61 properties, that's a 10-year commitment, whereas 61A and 61B are 1-year commitments, and they're all due on October 1st for renewal. And that tells me that we might put a process in place in, let's just say, July or August to check with the owners of those 61A and B properties to find out if they have any intention of removing them, because if so, that might give us 2 extra months to talk with them.
Yeah. Sounds like a good idea. Yeah.
Okay. Any other thoughts on this topic before we move on?
I'd be surprised. I mean, this was written in 2012, Mike. When was
what this charge? 2014, amended 2014.
One would hope maybe that since 2014, the Board of Assessors has developed a database with deed restrictions in it, but perhaps not.
Right.
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea.
No, that's fine. I was thinking we need to get in touch with the tax assessor's office and find out if they have a database.
Yes.
Because that would make things much easier if they'd already entered it into something. But maybe
it would be. But
right. I did write the Board of Assessors to ask to gain access to their database called Vision, which presumably would have all of this information. I'm pretty sure they asked if I would join one of their meetings and make that case. I think that would have clear benefits, and I'll talk to them to line that up.
Wow.
The next topic is the CPA. So I hope that person who asked about the CPA earlier has stuck around. Let me turn off my share to see if there's any other comments that have come since then. All right, there aren't. That's okay. I would be tired too.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I know.
So what I'll do is
I have seen her on Facebook saying that she was there was a conversation that happened.
Okay. Let's see. So when I was speaking with Selectman LaCamera, he indicated that a CPA committee has already been formed and can be reactivated.
Really?
Look at this. This is great. People are getting involved. It's so nice.
So, but don't celebrate too soon, because I think this may have been something years past, unless I misunderstood. Possible I misunderstood, but I was under the impression that this is something from years past, and he was asking me whether there's any role for us to reactivate it. I was looking into
that
I
he's
was-
asking. 'Cause
Bylaws.
the bo-
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, I'm sorry. It's just good that he's asking because the prior, I mean, I have to say this out loud, the prior Board of Selectmen was not interested in CPA at all. So it's great that one of the Board of Selectmen is asking.
Yes.
Either. That's all. That's all I was trying to say. Go ahead, Adam. I'm sorry. I
Okay.
interrupted you.
No, that's
Well,
good.
the woman who was the woman who spearheaded the last attempt is living in New Hampshire. I don't know if she still claims residency in Lakeville or not. She still communicates a lot with people. That's Sarah Kukulevich. But I don't think that she. I mean, she wouldn't be doing CPA in any case. I don't think, not here.
Oh.
Might be good to connect with her in some way.
I say that again.
It might be good for us to connect with her in some way and get her advice at the very
Well,
least.
I can do that. But I am pretty sure she's I was on the open space committee when we did it last time, so I could always share what I learned.
Okay. Where was I going with that? Okay, so I was looking into the town bylaws, and apparently the CPA committee, the terms are from 1 to 3 years. So if the last committee was over 3 years ago, I'm imagining they have all expired and they haven't been on pause or extended. In some
You're not by any chance talking about the committee that is formed to manage the funds once it's passed, because that's a different committee.
No, and again, I might have got this wrong. I was under the impression this was a committee that was to organize it or try to pass it, because, I mean, why would there be bylaws about the CPA post passing if that hasn't happened?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I could probably pull it up.
I think that our terms are 1 year. I have never heard of any of our people ever having a 3-year term.
So was there a committee, Mike, back when you tried to pass it the
No.
last time?
We were told that they how was it phrased? To investigate the feasibility of Lakeville passing the CPA. That was our charge from the
Open
Board of Selectmen. But that was a charge to the Open Space Committee.
Can you say that again? It was a committee, it was a subcommittee that would determine whether.
No, it wasn't we never had a subcommittee. The whole committee worked on it. But the charge was to no, how did I say it? To study the feasibility of Lakeville of the CPA for as a viable thing for Lakeville.
This was solely an ask of the Open Space Committee?
Yes.
I'm
They
assuming-
didn't ask us to promote it. We were sort of a study committee.
Was there any cooperation with anyone in finance or anything like that? 'Cause
No.
All the tax ramifications, you'd think that would have to.
At the time, there were not, no.
So this is what I've pulled up from the bylaws, and I'm not sure if anyone here is familiar with this, and we don't have to spend too much time on it, but maybe it would jog a memory. It does say, one member of the Open Space Committee would be designated for an additional term of 1 year and thereafter a term of 3 years.
Where did you find these, Adam?
This is just in the general Lakeville bylaws, the page 45.
Really? Oh, established, approved by the Attorney General. Wow,
Well, I'm
that's
thinking that this might be
interesting.
an example that somebody might have, maybe it's an example that somebody pulled up so that if and when Lakeville passed.
It could,
CPA.
maybe this was something that had to be done before we had the town meeting. I don't know, because we passed a town meeting, but maybe this was something that had to be done before the election. I don't remember.
Well, that could be, could be too.
Because it passed at town meeting, this committee would be created in advance of the election?
No, it would be
Oh, I don't know. It's,
to pass it at town meeting or to be able to participate in
That's
CPA,
right.
because it is a state thing,
duty shall study the needs and possibilities, they
probably rules.
make
for your town
recommendations.
to Participate. Because lots of towns in Massachusetts have CPA, lots and lots and lots of them. And it's crazy that Lakeville doesn't have it at this point, but whatever. It's free money. Because it's a match. CPA is a match.
Right, and that's all listed here. But what I'm wondering is if this is, I think the confusion that myself and Mike maybe are experiencing, is this something that should exist already, or is this outlining a future state where we have in some way already adopted the CPA? Because that seems like the confusion.
Well, that's what I
Well,
was
yes.
told. Never passed it.
For instance, Middleborough passed it, and they have a CPA committee. So that's this looks like what they would have, but
It looks to me like somebody did all the legwork just in case it passed.
Well, it looks like it's already established. If it's in the bylaws and it says it's hereby established, then I don't know how it got to be established, but this would tell me, unless this document is somehow wrong, that there is an opportunity to form this committee.
Well, it sounds good. You know, if it can be done, fine.
That's weird, because all I've ever heard was it got voted down.
Right.
This whole thing is news to me. In 2005. I have to go back and look at.
This isn't about it in advance. Let me see what's going on right before this. No.
Maybe they copy pasted and didn't realize that they.
I mean, it's not inconceivable that a committee be formed without acting upon a past tax measure. Like it's not necessarily the case that a tax bill has to be passed the CPA meeting before a committee is established. Is there? This doesn't seem to be a requirement that one go before the other.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, maybe you don't get to have CPA unless you have your rules and your everything in place. Do you see what I'm saying? Like with a grant, sometimes you have to show that you've got the capacity to handle doing it.
Yeah.
Before they'll allow you to be a member of the group. And that's just where my head's going, because it sounds like, you know what I mean?
Right. So it sounds
there's
like
some people who could possibly.
Go ahead.
There is actually a group that what is it called? But there is a group to help people with CPA, and they're the ones to ask about this. I can't remember the name of the group, but Adam, I forwarded to you, I think, the email from Patricia Cassidy.
Sorry,
because she told us she gave the organization, and I think that's the people we need to ask.
Okay.
How this relates to that.
I will find out the name of that group that you're referencing. I'll check out the email referencing Patricia Cassidy. We'll find out the correct group to contact and find out if it is the case that this committee can be established in advance of a CPA passing. And if it is the case, this committee might help us get that done.
Right.
If that is not the case, and maybe this section is in this document for some other reason, we can find that out also.
It says it was approved by the Attorney General. That's what puzzles me, that up above.
Right.
Just right the page just before this.
If the vote had passed at election, then that committee would have had people appointed to it and carried it forward and run the program. But the fact that it didn't pass, nobody ever got appointed to it.
Right. Right, exactly. So why this is sitting there in the bylaws of Lakeville?
That's a puzzle. Yeah.
Well, it passed at the town meeting.
Yeah,
Right.
so they may indeed have established it at that town meeting. It could have been a two-part vote.
Right.
Is this another thing to ask the town council if we can rely on this being an accurate representation of the bylaw?
Might be a good question.
I don't know that yeah, I don't know that you need the town council. You need somebody with a little bit of Lakeville history. And the CPA people, but it could be part of the process that if a committee had to be established, it could be that is something that is done at that town meeting.
Right.
But that this was moot. If it didn't pass, this was moot, and they never took it out of the bylaws.
Right. That's what I'm thinking.
So are you saying that it once was valid, but is now potentially invalid?
That's my guess.
I mean, why wouldn't they have CPA?
Or maybe not valid. It's just not. It's meaningless because we don't have we don't belong to. We didn't accept the act.
Right. Okay. So that's the question. Can the Community Preservation Committee be created in advance of the acceptance of the CPA? Are we in agreement? That's the question?
Yeah.
Then that's what we will look into between now and April 3rd or April 8th.
Yeah. Who's taking? Is that?
Yeah,
who's
Adam,
doing
are you
that?
doing everything, or do you want some help?
I would like someone else to look into that.
Yeah, I'll do that. I hate to say
Thanks,
this, but
Liz.
well, it's not a problem because I know what organization you're talking about too, Mike, that helps towns and states pass CPA. There's a tremendous amount of information actually out there on how literally step by step to help you get CPA to pass in your town.
Yes, I spent a long time sitting with the representative and they had something's brewing. I remember it well.
Right. And I've just been waiting because we can't do it. We've got to educate. Exactly. We have to educate the townspeople.
Yeah. That's my under, but it's something to review with her. Yeah.
Right. And then we can.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And that's why it hasn't.
The extent to it, the extent to which we can act is something that needs to be reviewed with her.
Right. Yep.
With her, him, whoever, but with that organization. Yeah.
Yep.
So Liz, would you write an email to someone about this, and then when you do, CC Mike and myself on this, or we can at least create like a three-way email conversation. Sorry, Brian, not to exclude you, but we need to keep.
That's fine. I understand where we're going.
Okay.
We're going in the right direction.
Yeah, now I have something really solid I can work on too, which I actually personally, my own opinion, is that until this town passes CPA, we are always going to be like spinning our wheels in the dirt. Because when you don't have any money to spend and you don't have the commitment of the town and the Board of Selectmen that they want to keep open space or they want to keep historic pieces, I mean, what can you do? Mm-hmm. You're just talking. Sorry.
No, that's great. The last thing of new business before we begin to wrap up, I was contacted by James Rogers of the Master Plan Implementation Committee, and he writes to ask what, if any, actions our committee has taken or plan to take to review and implement the various goals and strategies assigned to our group in the master plan. Yeah. So share that very briefly. It's relatively straightforward. We've been talking about it all day. So here I go sharing.
Finish the open space plan.
So that's the number one goal here. So the end of the master plan has this really useful plan timeline. And the first thing assigned to us to update the 2013 open space and recreation plan. That really should be our number one goal. That in advancing the CPA in some way, because until we get the open space and recreation plan passed, we can't even apply for grants.
Yep. Right.
So with that and the CPA, we can hopefully move to becoming a committee that has a little more ability to preserve. I think that would be great. Let's see what else was there. I think that'll be it. So any comments on anything else, any other new business that I haven't brought up yet? All right. Nothing heard. We'll move to committee liaisons. So first, the Historical Society from Brian.
Okay, actually, Historical Commission.
Oh, sorry about
Lakeville was formed in 1853. In 1953, we had a 100th anniversary celebration. We did a 125th, we did a 150th, and we're planning to do a 175th in 2028, I think it is, or about that. And there is a committee being formed for the 175th anniversary. So that's in the works.
Excellent. Any idea what that will entail? Will there be a party on Main Street?
Well,
Yeah.
we're hoping to do a parade, and
Oh,
it's
fun.
whatever the committee can come up with. You know, there'll be a committee, town appointed, that will run the thing.
Great.
Good.
All right. That was from the Historical Commission, not the Historical Society. Thanks, Brian. And
Yep.
the Parks Commission from Jesse. Unfortunately, he's absent, so we won't hear from that. The Assawamset Pond Complex, Mike.
I didn't quite get my homework done. I wanted to have a summary of the vision statement sent to you to read out for you. I will send out to the members a copy of it, and you don't have to read the whole thing. You can just read the summary statements. Essentially, it says we're going to have the Nemasket River clean, full of wildlife, and everybody loving it to death. And that's essentially what it says. And I'm supposed to be signing up for at least to review some of the white papers, and I said I would focus on the ones that review habitat and recreation. That's it.
Wonderful.
Oh, there is. Let's see. Next, it's coming up quite soon. The next meeting of the on the 18th, the APC meets at 9 o'clock. Wait a minute. Sorry, that's the 10th. It's a Wednesday. It's the quarterly meeting of the Assawamset Pond Complex Management team.
Okay. So that brings me to the next and the last topic for today, which is LakeCAM has requested that we consider moving our meeting to the second Wednesday of the month. There are other options also, but I feel like I've heard today that Wednesday is the day that makes the most sense.
He wants us to go to Tuesday or Thursday, I'm sure.
I'm curious why he wants.
I think I have another commitment on the second Wednesday.
Okay.
Normally, but right now with everything shut down with the virus, well, if we go back to our normal schedule, there's a conflict.
Okay.
I have no Wednesdays free ever.
Okay.
Oy.
What we can do then, rather than kind of go back and forth with times right now, is I can send everybody here an email, and I'll ask that someone communicate with Brian about this as well. It's essentially a tool where each individual inputs their schedules, or at least, sorry, their availability. So you'll indicate, for example, Wednesday evening is free, Friday evening is free, etc. And then we can find the time that works for everybody. If something does work, then we'll consider moving. If it doesn't work, if there's no time that fits for us, then we'll just express that to LakeCAM, and maybe another committee would consider moving if that works for them. But we'll at least give it a try. So look out for that email, and we'll see what we can do.
Okay.
With that, the next meeting will be the first Wednesday of April at 7 p.m. That's April 7th. I strongly encourage any members of the town who want to engage in public comment. You don't have to just send a chat message in if you don't want to. We'd be happy to have you here. You can request a link to the participatory session by contacting lakevilleopenspace@gmail.com. And with that, would anyone like to conclude this meeting?
You mean like move to adjourn?
Please.
I move that we adjourn this meeting. Is that all I need to say?
No.
Okay, second,
Wonderful.
Brian.
And I know we're supposed to go the roll call, so we'll go through. Adam Young, I'm in favor of concluding the meeting as well. Aye. Liz?
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous. We'll conclude this meeting. Thanks, everybody.